I wasn't born a dirty cop. For years I kicked indoors, made arrests, testified in court, did everything by the book. Then one night on a raid, I watched a pile of cash hit the table. And I took just a little. That little turned into envelopes, payoffs, and full-on robbery. This is how it happened. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that for 15 years, I wore a badge. And for 15 years, I told myself I was one of the good ones. I joined the force when I was 23, fresh out of the academy, full of pride, full of purpose. My father was a firefighter. My uncle was a cop. In my family, you served. You didn't ask questions. You put on the uniform and you did your job. The first few years were patrol, night shifts, domestic calls, traffic stops that could go sideways in a heartbeat. I learned fast. I learned how to talk to people. I learned when to be calm and when to be loud. I learned how to read a room, read a face, read the way a man's hand moves toward his waistband. I was good at it. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it because you need to understand who I was before I became what I became. By year 5, I made detective. By year 7, I was on the gang unit. That was the big leagues. That was where the real work happened. Narcotics, organized crime, task forces with federal agencies. We weren't chasing petty thieves. We were going after networks, cartels, distribution chains that moved millions of dollars in product every month. And I loved it. I loved the adrenaline. I loved the camaraderie. I loved walking into a room full of cops and knowing that every single one of them would take a bullet for me. That's not an exaggeration. That's how tight we were. My sergeant at the time was a guy named Ricky Salinas, 18 years on the job, decorated, respected, the kind of cop that rookies looked up to and criminals feared. Ricky took me under his wing. He saw something in me. Hunger, maybe. Ambition. Whatever it was, he liked it. "For you got potential, kid," he told me once. "Stick with me. I'll show you how this game really works." I didn't know what he meant back then. I thought he was talking about tactics, strategy, how to build cases that actually stuck in court. I had no idea he was talking about something else entirely. At home, things were good. I had a wife, Sarah. We met in high school, got married at 25. She was a nurse, night shifts, same as me. We passed each other in the hallway sometimes, kissed. Goodbye, promised to have dinner together soon. Soon never came, but we made it work. We had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, Tyler and Emma. They were young then, 5 and 3. They thought their dad was a superhero. I let them believe it. Every morning, when I came home from a shift, Tyler would run to the door. He'd jump into my arms and ask me if I caught the bad guys. I'd say yes, every time, even when I didn't, even when the case fell apart, even when the system let another dealer walk free, on a technicality. I never told him the truth. I never told him how broken the system was, how frustrating, how unfair. I kept that anger inside. And that anger, it started to build. You see, nobody tells you about the pressure, the politics, the quotas that aren't supposed to exist but somehow do. The brass wants numbers, arrests, convictions, headlines. They don't care how you get them. They just care that you do. And when you don't, when a case goes cold, when a witness recants, when a judge throws out evidence because of some procedural technicality, they look at you like you failed. I hated that feeling. I hated being seen as anything less than perfect. I had built my whole identity around being the best, the golden boy, the one who always delivered. So I pushed harder, worked longer hours, took more risks. I told myself it was dedication. I told myself it was sacrifice. But really, it was ego. I wanted to be somebody. I wanted my name on commendations. I wanted the chief to shake my hand at ceremonies. I wanted my father to see me on the news and feel proud, and for a while I got all of that. I got awards, I got promotions, I got a corner desk in the gang unit office with my name on a little brass plate. I got respect, but I also got tired. Tired of the grind, tired of the paperwork, tired of watching drug money flow through the streets while I drove a 10-year-old sedan and worried about my mortgage. I remember one night, sitting in my truck outside my house, just staring at the front door. Sarah was inside, The kids were asleep. The porch light was on, waiting for me. And I thought, what am I doing this for? I had risked my life 100 times. I had seen things no human being should see. I had held dying men in my arms and lied to them, told them help was coming, knowing it wasn't. And for what? A pension I might not live to collect? A house I could barely afford? A wife who was starting to look at me like she didn't recognize me anymore? That night, I didn't go inside for almost an hour. I just sat there thinking. I didn't know it then, but that was the beginning. That was the moment the door cracked open, just a little, just enough for something dark to slip through. I wasn't a dirty cop yet. Not even close, but I was tired. And tired men make mistakes. Tired men start to rationalize. Tired men start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the rules don't apply to everyone. That's how it starts. Not with a decision, not with a plan. It starts with exhaustion, with disappointment, with a slow, quiet voice in the back of your head that whispers, "You deserve more than this." And once you start listening to that voice, it never shuts up. The first time I took money, I didn't even think of it as stealing. That's important. That's how your mind works when you're standing on the edge. You don't jump. You don't even step forward. You just lean. You lean a little, and then a little more. And before you know it, gravity does the rest. It was a Tuesday night, March, cold as hell. We had been working a case for 3 months, a mid-level distributor named Hector Dominguez. He ran a crew out of the east side. Cocaine, mostly. Some heroin. He wasn't a kingpin, but he was connected. Taking him down would shake the tree. That's what Ricky said. We had warrants, we had backup, we had everything lined up. This was supposed to be a clean operation. In and out. Arrest Dominguez, seize the product, call it a night. But nothing is ever clean. We hit the house at 2 in the morning, breached the front door. Flashbangs, screaming. The usual chaos. Dominguez tried to run out the back. One of our guys tackled him in the yard. I went through. The house, clearing rooms. And then I found the bedroom. There was a closet, hidden behind a false wall. And inside that closet, there were duffel bags. 3 of them, stuffed with cash. I don't know how much was there. At the time, I didn't count. But it was more money than I had ever seen in my life. Stacks of 20s, 50s, 100s, banded together, packed tight. I just stood there, staring. Ricky came in behind me. He looked at the money. Then he looked at me. He didn't say anything. He just smiled. "Hell of a find," he said. Then he reached into one of the bags and pulled out a stack of 100s. He stuffed it into his vest. Casual, like he was grabbing a soda from the fridge. I didn't move. I didn't speak. He looked at me again. This time his eyes were harder. "You gonna stand there all night?" I should have said no. I should have walked away. I should have reported him right there. That's what the academy taught me. That's what my father would have told me to do. But I didn't. I reached into the bag. I took a stack. Maybe $2,000, maybe 3. I didn't count. I just took it. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. I felt like I was going to throw up. And Ricky? He just laughed. "Relax," he said. "This is how it works. You think the city pays us enough to die for them? This is compensation. This is what we're owed." He made it sound so reasonable, so justified. "Besides," he added, "who's going to miss it? Dominguez? He's going to prison. This money was going to sit in an evidence locker for years, get eaten up by lawyers, maybe end up buying some politician a new car. At least this way, it goes to the guys who actually risked their lives." I didn't argue. I didn't question. I just nodded. That night, I went home with $3,000 in my pocket. Sarah was asleep. The kids were asleep. I sat in the kitchen with the money on the table, just looking at it. I told myself it was a one-time thing, a moment of weakness. I told myself I would never do it again. But even as I thought those words, I knew they were lies, because here's the thing nobody tells you about corruption. It doesn't feel like corruption. Not at first. It feels like opportunity. It feels like fairness. It feels like finally getting what you deserve. The next morning I paid off a credit card, the one that had been haunting me for years, the one Sarah didn't know about. I told her I got a bonus. She believed me. Why wouldn't she? And for a few days, I felt good. I felt lighter. I felt like maybe this wasn't such a big deal after all. Then came the next raid, and the next. Each time, Ricky would give me that look, that little nod, and each time I would take my share. It wasn't always cash. Sometimes it was jewelry, watches, electronics, stuff that wouldn't be missed, stuff that was damaged during the raid or not recovered at the scene. The paperwork was easy to fake. Everyone did it. Everyone knew, and nobody talked. That was the rule, the unspoken code. You don't ask questions, you don't judge, you don't snitch, you take care of your brothers and your brothers take care of you. I remember one night, about a month after that first envelope, I was sitting in a bar with 3 other guys from the unit. We were celebrating a big bust. Laughing, drinking, feeling invincible. One of the guys, Martinez, leaned over to me. He was drunk. His eyes were glassy. "You know what I love about this job?" he said. I shook my head. Nobody gives a shit about us, not the city, not the brass, not the public. They want us to clean up their mess, but they don't want to know how we do it. So we do what we gotta do. And we take what we can. Because when we're gone, when we're dead or retired or too broken to work, nobody's gonna remember our names. Nobody's gonna pay our bills. So we take care of ourselves. He raised his glass. "To the unwritten rules," he said. We all drank. And I remember thinking, he's right. This is survival. This is just how the game is played. That's what I told myself every night, every raid, every envelope. It's survival, it's the game, it's what everyone does. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to look, I knew the truth. I had crossed a line, and there was no going back. The money was easy. The justification was easy. The lying was easy. What wasn't easy was looking at myself in the mirror. So I stopped looking. I stopped asking questions. I stopped thinking about who I used to be. And I became someone else, someone I didn't recognize, someone my father would have been ashamed of, someone my children would never know. That's the thing about the first envelope. It's never really about the money. It's about what you're willing to become to get it. And once you answer that question, once you know what you're capable of, there's no going back to who you were before. The thing about corruption is that it doesn't stay small. It can't. It's like a virus. Once it's in you, it spreads. It finds every weak spot, every crack in your armor, and it fills them. Within 6 months of that first envelope, I couldn't remember what it felt like to be clean. The routine became second nature. We'd hit a house. We'd find cash or product or valuables. We'd take our cut before anything got logged. The reports would show half of what was actually there, sometimes less. And nobody questioned it. Not the sergeants, not the prosecutors, not the judges. Everyone was in on it. Or at least, everyone looked the other way. That's what I learned. Corruption isn't just about the people who take. It's about the people who know and don't say anything. The people who benefit from the silence. The whole system is built on it. I remember one night, we raided a stash house on the south side. Big operation, DEA was involved, federal agents everywhere. We found almost $200,000 in a safe. After the arrests were made, while the feds were outside processing suspects, Ricky pulled me into a back room. He had a bag in his hand. Inside was at least $50,000. "This never existed," he said. I nodded. He handed me $10,000. "Your share." That was more than I made in 2 months of legitimate work, and I earned it in 30 seconds. I didn't feel guilty anymore. That part of me had gone quiet. The voice in my head that used to ask questions, that used to remind me of right and wrong, it was barely a whisper now. And it wasn't just me. The whole unit was the same. We had a system. Every bust, someone would do the initial inventory. That person would decide what got reported and what didn't. Then we'd divide the rest. Equal shares, like a business. We called it the fund, as if giving it a name made it legitimate. "How much is in the fund this month?" "We need to hit something big, the fund is running low." It was casual, normal, like talking about the weather. And the culture around it? The culture was loyalty, absolute unquestioning loyalty. If you were part of the unit, you were family. And family protects each other. Family doesn't ask uncomfortable questions. Family doesn't judge. I remember a new guy joining us once. Young kid, fresh from patrol, eager to prove himself. His name was Danny. Danny was straight. You could tell. He had that look in his eyes. That same look I had when I started. Idealistic, determined, ready to change the world. The first raid he went on with us, Ricky handed him an envelope. Danny looked at it like it was a snake. "What's this?" he asked. Ricky just smiled. "Welcome to the team." Danny didn't take it. Not that night. He handed it back. Said something about procedure, about doing things right. We all watched him, silent. After he left, Martinez shook his head. "He's gonna be a problem." Ricky disagreed. "Give him time. They all come around." He was right. 3 weeks later, Danny took his first envelope. A month after that, he was one of the most aggressive collectors in the unit. That's how it works. The pressure is constant. The isolation is total. You're either with us or against us, and if you're against us, your career is over. Maybe worse. I saw what happened to cops who tried to report things. They got transferred, demoted, investigated for nonsense violations. Their files got flagged. Their reputations got destroyed. One guy, Henderson, he tried to go to internal affairs, tried to blow the whistle on some of the stuff he saw. Within a month, he was gone. Medical leave. Stress-related. At least, that's what the official report said. I heard he had a breakdown, lost his marriage, ended up drinking himself to death in some motel room 2 years later. That's what happens to the good ones, the ones who try to fight the system. The system eats them alive. So you learn to shut up, you learn to play along. You learn to tell yourself that this is just how things are and there's nothing you can do about it. And the lies you tell yourself, they get more elaborate over time. I'm not really corrupt. I'm just adapting. This money was drug money anyway. It's not like I'm stealing from innocent people. If I don't take it, someone else will. At least I'm not hurting anyone. I need this for my family, for my kids' future. I'm doing this for them. That last one was my favorite. The noble justification, the selfless excuse. I told myself I was a provider, a protector. I was doing what I had to do to give my family a better life. But the truth? The truth was simpler and uglier. I was greedy. I was tired of being poor. I was tired of watching criminals live better than me. I wanted nice things. I wanted to feel powerful. I wanted to stop worrying about money for once in my life. And I was willing to sell my soul to get it. At home, Sarah noticed the changes. Not the money. I was careful about that. I didn't buy anything flashy. I didn't change our lifestyle too much. Just paid off some debts, put some cash away, nothing obvious. But she noticed me. "You're different," she said one night. We were in bed. The lights were off. I thought she was asleep. "Different how?" "I don't know. Harder. Like you're always somewhere else." I didn't answer. I just stared at the ceiling. She was right. I was somewhere else. I was lost in a world she couldn't see. A world of secrets and lies and quiet betrayals. And I couldn't let her in. I couldn't tell her the truth. Because if I did, everything would fall apart. So I kept her out. Built walls. Grew distant. And slowly, the man she married disappeared. Replaced by someone else, someone I didn't like, someone I was afraid of, but I couldn't stop. I didn't know how. The corruption had become normal. It had become me. And I was too far gone to find my way back. There's a moment when you stop pretending, when you look in the mirror and you see what you really are. For me, that moment came about 2 years in. We had stopped being cops who bent the rules. We had become something else entirely. We were a gang. I don't say that lightly. I know what gangs are. I spent years hunting them. But when I look back at what we did, at how we operated, there's no other word for it. We had territory. We had hierarchy. We had rules. We had enemies. And we had no oversight. The gang unit had become untouchable. Our numbers were good. Our conviction rates were high. The brass loved us. The media loved us. We were the heroes who cleaned up the streets. Nobody asked how we did it. Nobody wanted to know. And that gave us freedom. Dangerous, intoxicating freedom. It started with the drug dealers, the ones we didn't arrest, the ones who were useful. Ricky had this theory. He said the best way to control the drug trade wasn't to stop it. It was to manage it. Let certain players operate in exchange for information, cooperation, and cash. Protection fees, he called them. We would approach mid-level dealers, give them a choice. Pay us, and we leave you alone. Don't pay, and we hit your operation every week until you're broke. Or dead. Most of them paid. The ones who didn't, we made examples of them. I remember one guy, Carlos. He ran a small operation out of an auto body shop. Mostly marijuana, some pills, small-time stuff. But he was stubborn, proud. He refused to pay. We raided his shop 3 times in 2 months. Each time we took everything. Product, cash, equipment. We arrested his workers, vandalized his property, made his life hell. The 3rd raid, we didn't find much. He had moved most of his operation elsewhere. But Ricky was angry, he felt disrespected. So he planted drugs. I watched him do it. Watched him pull a bag of cocaine from his vest and drop it behind a shelf. There we go, he said. Probable cause. Carlos went to prison for 5 years. His wife, his kids. They lost everything. And I stood there. Said nothing. Did nothing. That was the night I realized. We weren't fighting crime anymore. We were committing it. But by then I was in too deep. We all were. The protection fees grew. The extortion expanded. We started targeting businesses, legitimate businesses that operated in our neighborhoods, restaurants, clubs, auto shops, anyone who had cash and didn't want trouble. We'd show up in uniform, flash our badges, make vague threats about inspections, violations, concerns from the community. Most people understood. Most people paid. The ones who didn't, we found ways to make their lives difficult. Health inspections, fire code violations, anonymous tips about illegal activity. We had the whole system working for us, and the money was incredible. By year 3, I was pulling in an extra $30,000 a month. Cash, untraceable, more than my official salary. I bought a boat. Told Sarah I won it in a raffle. She didn't believe me, but she didn't ask questions. She had stopped asking questions a long time ago. We took vacations, nice ones, resorts in Mexico, cruises, places I never could have afforded on a cop's salary. How can we afford this? She asked once. Overtime, I said, lots of overtime. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she turned away. I think she knew. On some level she had to know, but she didn't want to know. She didn't want to deal with what knowing would mean. So we both lived in the lie. And the lie kept growing. The unit started taking bigger risks, ripping off drug shipments, not just skimming anymore, full-on robberies. We'd get tips about large deliveries, cash, product. We'd hit the locations before the buyers arrived, take everything, leave no witnesses. We called them interventions, like we were doing the city a favor, cleaning up the streets. But we weren't cleaning anything. We were just taking, stealing, getting rich off other people's misery. And the violence, it escalated. People got hurt. Dealers who resisted, bystanders who saw too much, informants who talked to the wrong people. I don't know how many people we hurt. I stopped counting. I stopped caring. That's the worst part. The numbness. The way your conscience just shuts down after a while. You stop feeling guilty. You stop feeling anything. You just do the job. Take the money. Go home. Repeat. One night, we hit a stash house that was supposed to be empty. Intelligence said the dealers had moved out. It was supposed to be a clean sweep. Get the cash, get out. But there was a family there. A woman, 2 kids. They were squatting in the house. Wrong place, wrong time. We terrified them. Kicked in the door at 3 in the morning. Screaming, guns drawn. The kids were crying. The mother was on her knees begging us not to hurt them. We didn't hurt them, not physically. We just searched the place, found nothing, and left. But I can still see those kids' faces. The terror in their eyes, the way they looked at us. They looked at us like we were the monsters, because we were. That night, I went home and sat in my truck for 2 hours. Couldn't go inside, couldn't face my own children. I kept thinking, what would Tyler say if he knew? What would Emma think of her superhero dad now? The answer was obvious. They would hate me. They would be right to hate me. But I still couldn't stop. I was too far in, Too much to lose. Too many people who would go down with me if I tried to get out. So I stayed, kept taking, kept lying, and watched myself become everything I once swore to destroy. There's a line. Everyone has one. The thing you tell yourself you'll never do. The boundary you think is sacred. For years I moved. My line. Every time I crossed it, I just redrew it a little further out. I told myself, I'll go this far, but no further. This is my limit. But limits don't mean anything when you've already proven you have none. The night everything went too far was a Thursday, October. I remember because it was my son's birthday the next day. He was turning 9. We had a party planned. Cake, presents, his friends from school. I was supposed to be home early. Instead, I was in a warehouse on the east side, watching a man die. We had gotten a tip about a big score, a drug shipment coming through, $500,000 in cash, maybe more, some kind of deal between local dealers and out-of-town buyers. The plan was simple. Hit the location during the exchange, take everyone down, keep the money. But nothing went according to plan. We breached at midnight, 6 of us, full tactical gear. We expected maybe 10 people inside. We found 20. The gunfight lasted 3 minutes. It felt like 3 hours. 2 of our guys got hit. Nothing fatal but bad enough, and on their side, 4 dead, 6 more wounded, the rest scattered. In the chaos we grabbed what we could, duffel bags, briefcases, anything that looked valuable. And then, someone found him. His name was Miguel. He was young, maybe 22. He wasn't a dealer, he was just a driver. A kid who got paid a few $100 to move cars from one place to another. Wrong place, wrong time. He was hiding in a back room, unarmed, terrified. Martinez found him, dragged him out by his collar, threw him on the ground in front of all of us. "We got a witness," he said. Ricky looked at Miguel, then at us. No witnesses. I knew what he meant. We all knew. I should have said something. I should have stopped it. I had a gun. I had authority. I could have ended it right there, but I didn't. I just stood there. Martinez pulled out his service weapon, pressed it against Miguel's head. The kid was crying, begging, saying he wouldn't tell anyone, saying he had a daughter. A little girl, please, please. I heard all of it, every word, and I did nothing. The shot was loud, louder than anything I'd ever heard. It echoed off the warehouse walls. It echoed in my skull. Miguel fell, just collapsed, like someone had cut his strings. And then silence, that terrible ringing silence. Nobody spoke. We just stood there looking at what we'd done. Ricky was the first to move. He started giving orders. Clean up. Stage the scene. Make it look like... Miguel was one of the dealers. Plant a weapon on him. We worked like machines, efficient, practiced. We'd done this before. Not the killing, but the cover-up, the lying, the paperwork that made everything disappear. By morning, the official report said Miguel was an armed suspect who was killed during the raid. Self-defense. Justified. Nobody questioned it. Nobody ever questioned us. But something broke in me that night. Something I didn't know was still intact. I went home at dawn. Sarah was asleep. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet, peaceful. I sat in the bathroom, door locked, water running so nobody could hear. And I cried. For the first time in years, I cried. I cried for Miguel, for his daughter who would grow up without a father, for his mother who would never know the truth. I cried for myself, for the man I used to be, for the man I had become. I cried because I knew there was no coming back from this, no redemption, no forgiveness. I had watched an innocent man die. I had done nothing to stop it. I had helped cover it up. I was a murderer. Maybe not by law, but in every way that mattered. The next morning I went to Tyler's birthday party. I smiled. I sang happy birthday. I watched him blow out candles and make a wish. And all I could think about was Miguel's face, the look in his eyes before the shot. I hope he died quick. I hope he didn't feel it. But I'll never know. That's the thing about that night. It didn't end when the sun came up. It didn't end when we filed our reports and went back to our lives. It's still happening. Right now in my head on a loop. Every night when I close my eyes, I see him. Every night I hear the shot. Every night I watch him fall. And every night I do nothing. Just like I did then, that's my punishment. Not prison, not disgrace, just the memory. Forever. After Miguel, things changed. Not on the surface. On the surface, everything was the same. We still did raids. We still took money. We still played our roles. But something was different. The air was heavier. The jokes weren't as funny. The silence between us grew longer. I think we all knew. Somewhere deep down, we knew the end was coming. You can't do what we did forever. The universe doesn't allow it. Eventually, the bill comes due. It came on a Monday. I was at my desk doing paperwork, routine stuff. Then I looked up and saw two men in suits walking through the office. They had that look. Federal agents. You learn to recognize them. They went straight to the captain's office, closed the door. My heart stopped. Ricky was across the room. Our eyes met. He gave a small shake of his head. Stay calm. Say nothing. But I could see it in his face. Fear. Real fear. 20 minutes later, the captain came out. His face was white. Salinas, Peterson, Martinez, Rodriguez, my office, now. Not me. My name wasn't called. I didn't know if that was good or bad. The four of them went in. The door closed. I sat at my desk pretending to work, while my entire world collapsed around me. The investigation had been going on for months. We didn't know. Someone had talked, an informant, a witness, someone we missed. The feds had wiretaps, surveillance, financial records. They had everything. Over the next few weeks, the indictments came down like dominoes. Ricky was first. 14 counts, racketeering, extortion, evidence tampering, conspiracy to commit murder, then Martinez, then Peterson, then Rodriguez. One by one, the unit fell. Apart. I waited for my turn. Every knock on the door, every phone call, every time someone looked at me too long, I was sure it was coming. But it didn't. I don't know why. Maybe they didn't have enough on me. Maybe I was careful enough. Maybe they were saving me for later. Or maybe someone made a deal. That's the thing about investigations like this. People talk. People flip. Everyone's trying to save themselves, and the only currency they have is information. I never found out who talked. First, who gave up names and dates and details in exchange for a lighter sentence. But I have my suspicions. The brass acted fast. Damage control. The gang unit was disbanded. Officers were transferred. Retirements were encouraged. I was offered a choice. Resign quietly with my pension intact or stay and face whatever came next. I took the pension. What else could I do? Fight. For what? I was guilty. Maybe they couldn't prove it in court, but I knew the truth. And I knew that the longer I stayed, the more likely that truth would come out. Sarah didn't understand. She thought I loved my job. She thought I would fight to keep it. "Why are you giving up?" she asked. I couldn't answer, couldn't explain, couldn't tell her that giving up was the only way to protect what was left. The trials went on for over a year. I wasn't called to testify. I wasn't subpoenaed. I was just overlooked. It felt like a second chance, a miracle. But it didn't feel like salvation. Ricky got 20 years. He's still inside. We haven't spoken since the day he was arrested. Martinez got 15. He tried to kill himself in prison, survived. Barely. Peterson made a deal, testified against the others, got 5 years. When he got out, he moved to another state, changed his name, disappeared, and me. I watched it all from the sidelines. Safe, free, untouched, but not innocent. The silence was the hardest part. After the trials, after the headlines faded, after everyone moved on, I was left with the silence. I couldn't talk to anyone about what happened. My former colleagues were either in prison or pretending they'd never known me. My family didn't know the truth. My friends were gone. I was alone with my memories, alone with my guilt. And guilt, I learned, is a patient enemy. It doesn't attack all at once. It just sits there, waiting, whispering. You got away with it, but you know what you did. You know who you are. I started drinking. Not a lot at first, just a few beers at night. Then whiskey, then whatever I could find. Sarah noticed. Of course she noticed. "You need help," she said. I told her I was fine. I told her it was just stress, adjustment. I told her I would cut back. I didn't cut back. 2 years after I left the force, she left me, took the kids, moved to her sister's house 3 states away. "I don't know who you are anymore," she said. "I don't think you know either." She was right. The man she married was gone, had been gone for years. What was left was just a shell, a ghost wearing a human face. I let her go, didn't fight, didn't beg. I didn't deserve to keep them, and now, 10 years later, I'm still here, still carrying it. The others got punished. They paid for what we did. Prison, shame, broken lives. But me, I got away. And sometimes I think that's the worst punishment of all. Because at least they got closure, at least they faced consequences. I just got silence, and silence, it turns out, is louder than any prison cell. So why am I telling you this? That's the question, isn't it? Why now? Why speak after all these years? I've asked myself that 100 times, 1,000, and I still don't have a clean answer. Part of it is the nightmares. They've gotten worse. After the divorce, after the drinking, after I pushed away everyone who ever cared about me, I was left alone with my memories. And memories, I learned, don't fade. They sharpen. Every night I see Miguel. Every night I hear that shot. Every night I watch myself stand there, doing nothing, saying nothing, being nothing. I wake up soaked in sweat, heart pounding, reaching for a gun that isn't there. The doctors say it's PTSD. They give me pills. The pills don't help. Nothing helps. Part of it is the sickness. I'm not well, won't go into details. But let's just say the clock is running out. When you know your time is short, you start thinking about what you're leaving behind, what people will remember, what story they'll tell about you. And I realized, if I die without saying this, the only story that survives is the lie, the official version, the decorated cop who retired early and lived a quiet life. That's not who I was. That's not what I did. And I can't let that be my legacy. Part of it, maybe the biggest part, is the people I hurt, not the dealers, not the criminals. I don't lose sleep over them. But the others, the innocents who got caught in our wake. Miguel's daughter. She'd be a teenager now. Does she know what really happened? Does she wonder why her father never came home? Carlos's family, the ones we destroyed with planted evidence and fake charges, where are they now? Did they ever recover? That woman and her kids, the ones we terrorized in the stash house, do they still have nightmares too? I don't know their names, I never learned them, they were just collateral damage, statistics, acceptable losses. But they were people with real lives. And I destroyed them. I can't undo that. I can't make it right. I can't bring back Miguel or give Carlos his years back or erase the fear from those children's eyes. But I can tell the truth. I can say, this happened. I did this. I was part of this. Maybe that's not enough. It probably isn't. But it's all I have left. If you're a cop listening to this, I want you to hear me. Really hear me. You think it can't happen to you. You think you're different, stronger, more moral. You're not. I was you. I had your ideals, your ambition, your belief that the badge meant something. And I still fell. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly. One compromise at a time, one justification at a time, one envelope at a time. And by the time you realize how far you've gone, it's too late to go back. So be careful. Be vigilant. Watch the people around you. Watch yourself. The moment you start thinking the rules don't apply to you, the moment you start believing you deserve more than what you earn, that's when it starts. Walk away. Whatever it costs, walk away, because the alternative is becoming me, and trust me, you don't want that. If you're not a cop, if you're just someone who wanted to hear a story, I want you to understand something. Most cops are good. Most cops are honest. They work hard, they risk their lives, they try to do right, but the system is broken. There's a culture of silence, a culture of loyalty that protects the wrong people, a culture that punishes those who speak up and rewards those who look away. Until that changes, until we stop treating police departments like gangs with badges, this will keep happening. Not everywhere, not always, But enough, more than enough. And the people who pay the price are always the ones who can't afford it. The poor, the vulnerable, the ones nobody listens to. That's the real crime, not just what we did, but the system that let us do it. I used to believe in that system. I used to think it could be fixed from the inside. I was wrong. What now? What happens after this? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe this just disappears into the void like everything else. Maybe someone hears it and it matters. Maybe it changes something. Somewhere. For someone. Or maybe I'm just an old man, trying to make peace with God before the end. I don't know if I believe in God. I used to. Not anymore. Not after everything I've seen, everything I've done. But if there is something out there, some kind of judgment, some kind of reckoning, I'll face it. I won't make excuses. I won't beg for mercy. I'll just say this is who I was, this is what I did, and I'll accept whatever comes next. That's all any of us can do in the end. Accept the truth, live with it, and hope that somehow in some small way, telling it makes a difference. My name doesn't matter, but my story does. And now you know it. Do with it what you will. I'm sitting here now, in a small apartment, in a city where nobody knows me. The sun is coming up. Another day. I don't deserve. I've been awake all night recording this. My voice is hoarse, my hands are shaking, but for the first time in years, I feel something. Not peace, not redemption, nothing that clean. Just release, like a pressure valve finally opening. I carried this for so long, alone, in silence, and now it's out. Now it exists somewhere outside of me. It doesn't change anything. The past is still the past. The dead are still dead. The damage is still done. But at least now, someone knows. At least now the truth has a voice. That's something, it has to be something, because if it's not, then what was any of it for? I don't know how to end this. There's no neat conclusion. No lesson that makes it all make sense. Life isn't like that. Real stories don't have endings, they just stop. So I'll stop here. If you've listened this far, thank you. For your time, for your attention, for whatever judgment or sympathy you're feeling right now. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just ask that you remember that monsters aren't born, they're made, and sometimes they wear badges. Stay safe out there, watch your back, and whatever you do, don't become me.